Hey everybody, it's Ashley Ray from Let's Talk Ray Style, and I'm here to get some stuff off my chest. Okay, so are you ready to talk Ray Style? Because I'm definitely ready. So today, I read an article about Mayor Duggan teaming up with JP Morgan, which is Chase Bank, and a few other people to start an initiative of free financial counseling for low income to moderate income Detroiters. First of all, let me just say, didn't I tell y'all not to vote for that motherfucker? Didn't I say, do not vote for this white man who does not live in the city of Detroit, who does not care about the citizens of Detroit that have been living in Detroit their entire lives, etc. I said this. Let me just give a brief synopsis really quick on Detroit's Mayor Duggan. Okay. In order to become a mayor in the city of Detroit, you have to be a citizen of Detroit. You have to change your address in a timely manner in order to be placed on the ballot for the election. Since Mayor Duggan was already in cahoots with the devil, aka former Governor Snyder of Michigan, and the emergency manager, which is the devil's bitch, basically, they already had in place a plan to make Mayor Duggan the mayor. So guess what? Duggan was like, oh shit, I forgot to change my Livonia address to a Detroit address so that I can be printed on the ballot. Right. So do you know what he did? What he did was he went to all these mega churches in Detroit and made all these promises to a bunch of weak-minded people who believes that the white man is the savior of black people. And so he got these mega churches to influence their members, and he actually came into churches and talked to the members and gave them this whole spiel about, you know, what he was going to do for Detroit, and they wrote his ass in on the ballot, so he won the election. All right. Now that I got that off my chest. This initiative to give poor people in poverty, financial counseling is basically a way of blaming them for being poor, underprivileged, or having a low income. People don't need financial counseling. What they need are higher paying jobs and a break from some of these poor taxes that are put on everything. Let me just stress that I have been a citizen of Detroit basically my entire life. There was a short period of time when I lived in a suburb outside of Detroit, but my entire life I've basically lived in Detroit. My water bill used to be $33 every 3 months. Detroit citizens never had to pay every month, and we didn't have high rates because the water system was created by citizens of Detroit, and there is a whole doctrine stating how it cannot be taken from us with all these great details and reasons why. Fast forward to Mayor Duggan becoming the mayor and saying that we need these suburbs on board with our water system in order to provide these upgrades that are needed, blah, 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 blah. What happens within that time? Flint gets fucking water poisoning, and the citizens of Detroit now pay the highest rates in water ever. We pay more than anyone else, and it was designed for it to never be that way. So now my water bill is between $80 and $100 every month. I'm going to say 50. Let's say $50 and $100 every month. That's ridiculous. Every month when I've been paying $33, not to mention, you know, you have a sewage tax. You have a drainage fee. Why would we have a drain? Where the fuck is the water gonna go? I'm sorry, y'all, that I just keep cursing. But this is the kind of shit that makes me mad. These are things that are making people with low income struggle even more. Okay? So, and not to mention there was a whole spree about, you know, the Detroit Water Department turning citizens off, cutting their water off. Yet the Illich family had a building where they owed $2 million in water costs and nobody turned them off. But you're turning citizens off who have children, who can't afford to pay these high ass rates. Shout out to Hydrate Detroit for constantly working for the people, working for low income people who happen to own properties and senior citizens who are in jeopardy of getting their water shut off. It's an amazing organization. You might want to Google them. All right, so I'm sorry. I just had to go into that little spiel so that you can understand how ridiculous this is to provide financial counseling. People with low income, once again, need higher paying jobs, and they need tax breaks, and they need breaks on some of these poor man taxes. And to me, a drainage fee is a poor person's tax. Like or when you get your water turned, if a person gets their water turned back on, you know, it's like a deposit that they have to pay in order to do that. And JP Morgan, okay, investing $50 million. How about you invest that in the people? Because you've stolen money from the members of your bank who happen to be citizens of Detroit, and not to mention JP Morgan, also known as Chase Bank, had a huge hand in destroying the housing market in Detroit, which caused people to be upside down in their mortgages, which caused a lot of people to have to forfeit their homes. They couldn't afford them anymore. They couldn't sell them. It was nothing that they could do. So with that being said, I just want to say that this is a crock of bullshit, and it's a way of blaming poor people for being poor. And I don't appreciate that shit. I don't appreciate the wolves in sheep clothing. And you know what? They're not even in sheep clothing. Like, they're very obvious in what they're doing, but that is just a way of blaming the poor. It really is. So I wanted to go over some poverty statistics in America, because this isn't just happening in Detroit, but this is what sparked this article. And in fact, I think I'm going to name this The American Dream. So I'm going to go over a few statistics. Forgive me, I didn't memorize them all, so I do have notes because I always have talking points. The United States is ranked number 16 out of 24 countries as far as upward moving in the social ladder, as far as economics and making more money. Like, the United States is number 16 out of 24. So we don't really have, in other words, upward social mobility. If you're not already there, chances are you're probably not going to get there. If you're poor in America, no matter how much you work, the deck is stacked up against you. And I'm going to explain more about that. And I'm not trying to kill anybody's dreams or say that, you know, they can't do what they want to do or achieve certain financial goals. But I just really don't appreciate how, what should I say? How oblivious we are to the actual facts. Yes, you can hope, dream, work and still be in the same financial situation. And these are some of the reasons why. Being poor is expensive. Poor people pay more for everything, literally. So poor people pay more for the things that they need in their homes, such as, you know, tissue, pads, tampons, soap, detergent, etc., because they can't afford to buy in bulk. If you have a lower income, you spend a larger portion of your money on your necessities, your basic necessities. In fact, poor Americans spend up to 70% of their income on food, housing, and transportation. So let's say any people who make $15,000 to $20,000 a year in America, after paying for housing, food, and transportation, have about $1 left over to spend daily. Now, don't you think that makes it more difficult to save money? It absolutely makes it more difficult to save money. It's literally a slap in the damn face. Not to mention, in the state of Michigan, a single person that makes $18,300 and some odd dollars a year is not eligible for Medicaid. They want you to pay basically $300 to $500 a month for health insurance, not to mention whatever your copays or your prescription fees may be. Do you think that that's not affordable? That's not affordable. But the state of Michigan says, hey, you make $18,000. You can afford to pay for that. They don't care about you having to pay for food, transportation, etc. They feel like you can make it work just off of that. And I feel like that's utterly ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous. They can't get loans because they don't make enough to even get a loan, or they don't have enough credit to even get a credit card. Like, you have to have credit in order to get a credit card. So it's like, oh, well, I don't have credit or money. So how does that work out for me? It doesn't. It doesn't work out for them at all. And you know what's really troubling? Americans really believe in the American dream. They believe in it so much that a survey says that 70% of Americans believe that poor people can get themselves out of poverty without any help. 43.1 million Americans live in poverty. There are 3 richest people who have more than the other 160 million people combined within the United States. That's actually kind of crazy. I mean, but this is capitalism. This is the world that we live in. And if Americans weren't so hooked on, you know, pulling myself up from the bootstrap, like, how can people even say that shit when the people who are here didn't pull themselves up from the bootstraps? They came here stealing, robbing, and raping. Like, but you're going to tell everybody else, oh, you got to pull yourself up from the bootstraps without any help. And people believe in that so much. Like I said, 70% of them believe in it so much that we're less likely to raise taxes in order to help people that are poor and in poverty. And we don't have a whole lot of social programs that would help people to get out of these situations. Long story short, I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of capitalism. I'm tired of people blaming poor people for their situations. Like, you have to be realistic. And that is exactly why I wanted to bring up the statistics. Like, there are more poor people or people living check to check than there are rich and wealthy people. But what they do is they promote these rich and wealthy people and say, you can do it too. This could be you. I mean, it could be, but what are the odds? Like, the odds are literally stacked up against poor people. And I'm going to bring this back to the city of Detroit, where we are forced to pay $320 for no-fault insurance every month on a car. So if you don't have a car note, then great, because you're going to pay a car note and car insurance. And then if you do have a car note, you're basically paying about $800 a month, including your insurance, if you live in the city of Detroit. That is a poor man's tax. On top of that, the insurance companies have the right to dictate whether they're going to actually pay for your claim or not if something happens to your car. Like, these are things that are constantly keeping people in debt and in poverty, because all of our bills and expenses and things that we need to live, such as heat, gas, water, food, they are all being raised higher and higher in price, and no one is getting paid enough, or not many people, not no one. Many people are not being paid enough to be able to live. Like, they are literally working just so that they can pay bills and not having anything left over. As I said, a person that makes $15,000 to $20,000 a year only has $1 left over after paying for housing, transportation, and food. That's not even including your utilities, as I just stated. So when we commend these people for coming out with these financial plans, my thing is, JP Morgan could have invested money into each individual. Like, there are a lot of individuals who are considered low income but happen to own their own property. They own the space that they live in. Like, why couldn't JP Morgan pay their taxes for a year? Pay their taxes up for a year. Then people would be able to save some type of money, any type of money that they're making. They would be able to save a portion of it for a year because they don't have to worry about their taxes. No, what you want to do is give financial counseling. Who needs to be counseled on needing to make more money in order to survive and in order to try to save money in case of emergencies? This shit is absolutely ridiculous. It's a slap in the face, and it's basically blaming the poor for being poor. It is blaming the poor for being poor. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I'm a lot more calm than I was earlier today because this really pissed me off. I told you guys not to vote for him. I really did. I told you guys not to vote for Mayor Duggan, and you did it anyway. So I hope that people listen to me next time, and I hope people are investigating these issues that I talk about, so that you can see them for yourself. But I know that everyone doesn't read things the same way, but the best reading is to read in between the lines. Always. You have to always read in between the lines of whatever it is that you're reading, because a lot of times dealing with the media is some bullshit in the game, and I'm going to be the one to bring it to you, okay? So thank you for joining me again for another video of Let's Talk Ray Style. This is Ashley Ray TV. Smooches.